All right, welcome everyone to our 2023 Craft Retailer Research Results presentation. I'm Leanne Presley, and I'm the founder and CEO of Stitchcraft Marketing, and I'm here with my dear friend and research partner, Susan Beyer from Audience Audit. We're going to take about 60 minutes and go through the research findings. I'm super excited about this. We have some really juicy information for you, so let's get started. I usually like to start my presentations by sharing just a little bit more about who I am, so that you know I didn't just make all this up and I jumped in off the street to share this with you. So as I mentioned, I'm the founder and CEO of Stitchcraft Marketing, and we started in about 2009. We offer retainer-based services. We do mastermind groups, we do one-on-one consulting, and so much more, including research like this. I've worked with over 300 clients, specifically in the fabric or the fiber space. And I also host a podcast called Business of Craft. And then lastly, I always like to add in, I am a knitter, I'm a quilter, I'm an artist. I do the things that your customers do. So I think that kind of gives me a unique perspective here, because not only do I have that 300-foot view of what's happening in the industry in general, and then I can also put on my consumer hat, and I can give you that feedback from a consumer perspective. So like I said, I'm here with my dear friend and partner, Susan Beyer from Audience Audit. Susan, do you want to just take a minute and share a little bit about yourself?
You bet. Just think of me as Julie, your research cruise director.
Right.
My agency is called Audience Audit. We do a particular kind of research that you're going to see today to help organizations like Leanne's help their clients better understand who they are serving and do a better job serving them. So we'll talk about what my research looks like, and you guys are going to see it. But we've done it for some very big brands as well as some very small brands. And also, you should know that I am also in your client community. Thanks to Leanne, I'm a knitting addict. So thank you very much for that, Leanne.
Yes, you're welcome. So we know that this research is very expensive to do, and it's very complicated. So we do have a couple of partner sponsors that I want to do a little bit of a shout out here. The first one is Bernina. They have been very helpful in supporting us in all aspects of the research. The next one is the TNNA, which is the National Needle Arts Association. Again, they used to do research like this way back in the day, not exactly like this. So they were eager to jump in and provide their support for this research. And then Creative Retailer, they're a bi-monthly publication covering lots of different topics, industry trends, etc. And at the end, we'll give you their website addresses again. I also just want to take a moment and say that our mission at Stitchcraft is really to raise all boats in the industry. We want to do another little thank you to some of the other partners that supported us in sending out the survey. That would include the Craft Industry Alliance, H&H Americas, By Annie, and Indie Untangled. And we really do hope to continue to have some of their participation in addition to our partner sponsors in years to come when we do this research again. So I will say also part of our intent here is to share all this data and research with you, because like I said, we just want everybody to be more successful overall. So at the end of this slide deck, you'll see a QR code that will link you over directly to our Tableau data results, as well as our executive summary if you want to explore further what the responses are. All right. Susan?
Yeah, so let's talk about what the research looked like. So this fielded in basically April of this year. This is, as you know, hot off the presses. So really new current information. We have 923 responses, and they're spread out across the whole country. You can see the map there. So thank you very much to our sponsors for allowing us to get such a large group and such a diversified group geographically, every state in the US, plus some outside the US. The nice thing about 923 responses is it gives us basically double the gold standard for statistical reliability for this type of research. We are plus or minus 3.2 percentage points at a 95% confidence level. And for those of you who are not statisticians in the audience, what my sister, who is a statistician, would say is that we have tasted enough of the soup to know what is in the whole pot. So the good news is that regardless of where your organization operates and who your customers are, they are within the groups of people that we're going to be talking to you about. So there's a very good chance you have all of these folks learning about your business, following about your business, shopping at your business, talking to others about your business.
Mhm.
So we're going to start with something called attitudinal segmentation. If you want to stop a conversation at a cocktail party, say that phrase out loud. But basically, it's as simple as understanding the two words. So segmentation is just grouping people into different groups. That's all it is. And we see it by generation, millennials versus Gen X versus boomers, or income levels or genders. Attitudinal segmentation does it based on mindset, how people are thinking about themselves, their organizations, their industry, their challenges. So what you're going to see is groups of people, in this case, craft business owners, who are different from others because they share a set of attitudes with a certain subset of retailers. They link things together. So it's not how they feel about one question. It's about really what their total mindset looks like. And it can be very illuminating for business owners to sort of see their people from a different perspective than how we look on paper. It's based on 43 statements that we gave to people that they all had to rate, like, I'm confident in my skills as a business owner. They had to say, I disagree completely, I agree completely, or something in between. And then the math is identifying what the groups are, right? What attitudes define them, who's in them, how big they are, and how many there are. So it's all a mathematical thing. It's not Leanne and I deciding ahead of time what these buckets are.
Mhm.
Yeah. And no demographics were taken into consideration when we built the segmentation itself. So you're going to see information about craft business owners and the size of their organizations and how long they've been doing what they're doing. But that isn't part of what determined the segments.
All right, let's share the segments.
Let's go. So we found 4 very distinct segments among these respondents, among these operators: community prioritizers, confident succeeders, threatened warriors, online embracers. So again, the fact that we have 4, that's math. The fact that they're all fairly equal in size, also math, and doesn't always happen. The names are the ones that are sort of working names, but I know, Leanne, you and your team found a much more friendly way to talk about these people.
Yes, absolutely. You know, numbers can be really impersonal. And at Stitchcraft, we're always telling our clients, you need an avatar, you need an avatar. So that was the first place we went, and we wanted to put a name to the face for all of them. So you can see here, we chose some gender neutral names since we did have both male and female respondents in each of the groups. The first one is going to be Community Casey, and the second one is Confident Chris. And then we're going to talk about Worried Willa or William, and then Online Ollie. So let's get right into it with Community Conscious Casey. Susan, do you want to tell us about Casey?
Yeah, so I think this group is really fascinating. These retailers feel very strongly about the importance of personal relationships, community, and supporting other small businesses as part of the makeup of who they are as an operator. They really value strong community as an owner. That doesn't mean they always have it. And we're going to talk about that a little bit later. This group is the least likely to manufacture the products that they are selling. Only 39% of them do that. They are also more likely than the other groups to be selling patterns, kits, tools, group events, and private lessons. So community, both for their customers and prospects and for themselves as business owners, really, really important for this group.
And as we go through this, Susan, I'm sure that our folks on the call and listening and watching later on are going to try to identify themselves in one of these 4. And that's absolutely what we want you to do, because at the end of the presentation, Susan and I are going to give you some actual actionable items based on these personas. So it's okay if you see some crossover and you're a little bit of Ollie and you're a little bit of Willa. That's totally normal. But we thought we'd just kind of paint that picture of who you are, what the personas are, and then what your challenges are as well.
Yeah,
so
and let's also say we're not judging any of these.
Right.
None of these are bad. We're not critical. This is just what's out there. So if you see yourself and you feel like, I wish I was somebody else, it's okay. You are not alone. It's okay. So let's talk about Casey's biggest challenges. 63% of the people in this particular segment are finding it really hard to market their business. 59% are saying it's hard to attract new crafters, and 46% say attracting younger customers is challenging. So while they really have this strong opinion about what they want to accomplish in their business with other owners and with their clients, things aren't always easy for this group. And this is where we're seeing the rubber hit the road for them in terms of just marketing and being able to reach new clients.
Right. Now we know Casey values community, like we said, and I wanted to share with you some of the actual text feedback that we got in the open-ended section of the survey. And I'll just remind everybody again, we are sharing all the data with everybody. So if how many did we have of those open-ended questions? Hundreds.
Oh,
so
hundreds.
You want to go in there, grab a cup of coffee and read what absolutely everybody said in the open-ended section. Feel free. But I just grabbed a couple of snippets here, Susan. Casey would say things like, I love to get to know my customers personally, and I want to build relationships with them over time. This one came up a lot. It upsets me when I hear about other retail craft shops closing. Absolutely. I think we all feel that. And the craft industry, the craft industry needs small mom and pop retailers to stay healthy and true to its purpose.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep.
All right. Next one, we have confident and successful Chris. Do you want to tell us about him?
Yeah. So confident and successful Chris really feels like they are doing a great job with their business. They are the most likely of all four segments to rate their business highly with respect to product quality, retaining existing customers, attracting new customers, generating revenue, having a great product and service selection, the uniqueness of their products, their relationship with manufacturers, and staying on top of trends. In almost everything, they're like, my business is killing it.
But
they are not necessarily, as we can see from the data, generating more revenue than anybody else is. They just feel better about how their organization is running. But it's not that if you sort of think, oh, well, those are the ones who are bringing in millions of dollars every year. That is not true.
Yep. And we'll share more about that in the next slide.
Yeah. Marketing in particular is a place where they really feel very strong. They're more likely to feel very confident in their branding and in their marketing skills, which is a place where some of these segments are really struggling. But for this group in particular, that's a place where they feel very confident.
52% there was that last number.
Yeah, 52%.
But they were more confident. Okay, let's look at the revenue stream here, like you just mentioned.
So if you look at this pie chart and you see we're ranging from revenue of less than 25K at midnight to 1 a.m. all the way up to 5 million at a minute before midnight as you go around this clock. And so being Chris doesn't mean you're making more money from a revenue standpoint than anybody else. So it also means that any of us running one of these businesses can be Chris, can feel confident. You don't have to be big. You don't have to have a huge revenue stream to feel very good about how your business is doing.
Right. And even though Chris is confident, they do have challenges.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't we all? We all have challenges. So the big challenge for Chris is employee related. It's really about hiring employees, training employees. 33% of these folks cite those two issues as a challenge. 13% say keeping employees is a challenge, which, ouch, that's a particularly hard one. It's one thing to try to get new people. It's another thing to try to replace knowledgeable workers that have been part of your business. So that's an issue for this group.
Right. And as we said earlier, Chris feels like they are just absolutely crushing it. So some of the responses we received from this persona segment were, I'm more successful than other craft retailers. I'm confident in my skills as a business owner, and I can stay in business for as long as I want. And I have a good relationship with my manufacturers and distributors. And we'll talk a little bit more about some of the dynamics between the shop owners and the distributors and manufacturers later on.
Yep, it's lovely to be Chris. And then
we come to Willa.
Threatened and worried Willa, poor Willa. So Willa is struggling, and some of it is external, and some of it may be more about their own attitude about how to go about doing things. So Willa really feels that manufacturers and distributors need to do a better job in terms of supporting people like them and businesses like theirs. Direct to consumers and working with influencers are a particular threat for Willa when manufacturers and distributors do that.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, this group is least willing. They admit they are the least willing to make adjustments to what they're doing from a marketing standpoint. So there are threats that are affecting their business. And at the same time, they're stuck in terms of being willing to make some changes. This group is less likely to use social media for posts and blogging. They are least likely to try a range of approaches to address challenges. So you referred to that as sort of analysis paralysis. What should I do? Maybe I'll just keep doing what I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
But that's really very difficult for them.
Yes. And let's look at that just a little bit more closely. So here, when we looked at where Willa fell among the sales tools that were available to all of our respondents, we see social media marketing. Willa is in the lowest range here at 70%. Also the lowest here with having a business website at 65%. Email marketing, which we know can be a really powerful tool. Willa is also the lowest at 66%. And then lastly, having an online store, Willa is also lowest at 61%. So across the board, Willa is just not taking advantage of the tools available.
Really, and particularly with expected digital, which we know can be a hard transition for business owners to make.
Right.
Yep, for sure.
So the biggest challenges, Susan?
So 87% of the people in this segment say that direct to consumer on the part of manufacturers has a moderate to severe impact on their business. It is not helping, and it's particularly painful for this group. Mm-hmm. 55% cite the problem of manufacturers and distributors selling direct to consumers. So we're seeing a pattern here of really feeling threatened by the organizations that provide the products that they are selling in their business. Mm-hmm. There's sort of a runaround problem, right? 48% cite the growing presence of large online craft retailers as a threat. 29% cite craft influencers actually having an impact on consumer preferences, right, for products.
Yep.
So only 58% of these people even have a website.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of threats that Willas are perceiving. Certainly, I think most of us would agree that those are real concerns in the industry in a lot of cases, but they're also not helping themselves because of their lack of tools that could help them overcome some of those challenges.
Right. Just that reticence and really just operating from a place of fear.
Yep.
Some of the things that Willa told us were, I wish manufacturers and distributors would ask me how they can do better. My business comes first over being part of a community with other crafters. And it upsets me when manufacturers and distributors create exclusive products with social media influencers, thereby competing with my store. And we do have a lot more to share with what Willa has to say later on in the presentation about this particular point.
Willa's not happy.
No. All right, Ollie.
Online embracing Ollie. So this is a very interesting group. Only 40% of these respondents even have a brick and mortar location. This is a predominantly online group. 33% of them are selling through other e-commerce stores. 48% of them are making the materials that they are selling. And 54%, a majority, say that direct to consumer has a little impact on their business model or doesn't apply at all. So talk about a flip between the threat that Willa perceives from DTC and Ollie, who's like, if that's an issue, it's a really small one for us. Yeah, just a really different perspective on this group. If you are thinking that because of their digital home preference, they are young, they are not. Look at the biggest section of this pie chart, 50 to 59.
Yeah.
And the next biggest is 40 to 49.
Yeah.
And the next biggest is 60 to 69. Like,
yeah, right. Look, they're all over in this section over here.
yeah, so
We're
I
really
love
surprised.
seeing that. I love seeing that. And it's a good thing, I think, for Willa to see that there are many people generationally for whom digital was not a natural way to go, and yet have embraced it and been successful with it.
Yes, absolutely.
Even in the absence of any kind of a brick and mortar.
Right.
Yeah.
Ollie's biggest challenges.
So Ollie's biggest challenges is online sales and marketing. So they're online, but how to use that effectively from a sales and marketing standpoint is still a challenge for them. 67% say that marketing is a challenge. 66% face difficulty growing their online sales. And 49% say developing an online presence, so a reputation, a brand, is challenging. And I would argue that that's true. It doesn't come overnight, as you know. Yeah. But it can be overcome, and these folks, this is where they're going to live. So they're really focused on these challenges because they're the ones who don't have a brick and mortar aren't about to open one.
Yes, they're staying in that digital world.
They are staying.
As you said, Ollie really just is thriving in that digital landscape. Some of the things Ollie shared with us, I'm open to online methods of connecting with my customers, of course. Craft retailers need to have an online presence to be competitive in the industry. And social media is necessary to engage craft retail customers. So really no surprises there with Ollie.
Yeah.
All right, so that is our personas. We're going to dip into some of the other findings that were shared across the board. The first one being the gross revenue. This was an interesting data point.
Yeah, let's talk about revenue for a minute. So what you're seeing here is for our total group, all segments combined of revenue. And you can see, we've got a really good chunk, about 22% that are at less than 25K in revenue. We have another peak at 100 to 250K in revenue, but we have folks across the spectrum. The interesting thing is when we look at this by segment, as you'll be able to do in the interactive data visualization, there's not a big difference between the segments on their distribution here. So it really demonstrates that you can be at any revenue level and be any of these segments as an operator. It's not about how much money you're bringing in. Now, there is one place where we do see a lean towards a segment, and that is in the less than 25K group. Online Ollies are the largest piece of that group. So they do tend to be making a little bit less than the other segments on average. But really, when you look across the board, no segment is standing out as making any more revenue than anybody else. Right.
And I love this chart because we get a lot of feedback from clients that they come to us with this assumption that they're doing terribly because they're only making, $200,000 a year, when we're talking about revenue. And I loved this data as an assurance point. You're not alone. There are a lot of colleagues in the industry, a lot of people right around you that are not killing it and crushing it. And like you said earlier, making millions and millions of dollars. So,
well, and we've got a segment, Confident Chris, that is really crushing it, even if they are making less than 25K, which some of them are.
Yeah.
So it's a balance of like what's coming in and also what are you trying to accomplish and how does that make you feel about your business?
Yes, absolutely. So we did have challenges that were shared by all the segments. Do you
Right.
want to share with our audience what those were, Susan?
Yeah, I mean, I think you've probably seen a thread of it coming through. It occurs to a greater or lesser extent, but overall, 55% of the respondents feel challenged growing their business online. 57% feel challenged marketing their business, and 57% feel challenged attracting new customers. So if this is something that you are struggling with, you are not alone. The majority of your brothers and sisters and siblings running craft retail operations are struggling with the same thing.
Yes, common
Yep.
threads there.
Yep.
We also asked about diversity, equity, and inclusion. We were curious about this data point, and we asked, how important is diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI, to your identity as a craft retail business? And you can see, Susan, here, 36% of all respondents said DEI is essential to their identity, and then another 30% saying that it's very important. So both of these pieces of the pie over here combined together, really 66% of our community saying that it's either essential or very important, which I was really feeling optimistic about this data point.
I was stunned, quite honest. I mean, you know, we do research in a lot of industries, and I have never seen a number that high for essential and very important. It is a striking difference between this industry in terms of the prioritization and motivation to get this right, and to have this be part of who I am as a craft retail operator. Really
right. And we also want to keep in mind, 93% of the survey respondents were self-identified as white.
Right.
And so, I love seeing that they all feel that there's still more work that needs to continue when it comes to the partnerships you're engaging in, the products you're bringing in, the employees that you're hiring, really across the board. I'm super optimistic to see that this was an important thing for our respondents.
So powerful and so different than what we've seen elsewhere. So really, really great. Good job on that.
Yeah, the other data point that we took a look at, I get a lot of questions about this, so I wanted to just share it, that 68% overall report an average customer spend of less than $100, which may be why you feel like you're on the treadmill running and not getting ahead. Well, you're not alone. Again, a lot of your colleagues are reporting the same thing, that spend is $100 or less. So just want
to, I think if you have a tremendous amount of churn in customers, if you're struggling to retain customers because of your product range or whatever, think about what the net profit is when you have to actually pay to go get new customers all the time, and they're spending an average of $100 with you.
Yep.
Not an easy solution to solve.
No, the struggle is real.
The struggle is real, that's for sure.
So we had a lot of data points that were common among two personas, and we wanted to share some of those, some interesting overlaps in the segment. So if you had experienced higher foot traffic in 2023 than in recent years, we noticed you're probably either a confident Chris or a community Casey.
Yep. If you tend to be a little less likely to rate your business highly, you are probably an online Ollie or a worried Willa. And I loved this data point. If you've owned your shop more than 15 years, you were more likely to be a confident Chris or a worried Willa. Right. There's this interesting diversion, right? Don't we often have the assumption that if you've been doing something for a long time, you're better at it and you're more satisfied with it? And what we see in this particular group of very experienced owners is a divergence between really feeling good about where things are going or really feeling threatened about where things are going.
And we also noticed that community Casey and online Ollie, those were the two personas most likely to have owned their business for 3 years or less.
Yeah. So just really interesting to know that if you've been at it for a while and you're struggling, you are also not alone.
Yes, for sure. We also took a look at the value of in-person versus online classes. This is a question that we get a lot. Susan, you want to share this?
So there's no question that in-person classes are viewed as more valuable when you look overall, right? We've got 54% saying those are very valuable and 33%, whereas if you look at the darker purple here, which is online classes, there's 24% who say it's very valuable, but the biggest group is sort of in that somewhat valuable thing, except the online ollies for whom it is flipped.
Right, 38% saying that it was very valuable to online ollie. No surprise there, they're very reliant on the online digital world.
Yep, for sure.
So I personally jumped right to this data point when you gave us the Tableau data. I wanted to see what tools our craft retailers are using. So we see here the most common tools used by all segments are social media marketing, the business website, email marketing, online store, and then followed by a couple of other things like gift cards, your POS software, and events. So we're seeing more than half of all the segments using these tools for sales, with, of course, the social media marketing, website, and email topping the list. Now, this is the tools they are using. Hold on, because we've got what tools are actually generating sales. And there is a difference here, Susan. We saw in the previous slide, the social media marketing and the website were the most commonly used. But when we look at this data point, retailers were reporting that email newsletters up here at the top, we're giving them the most effective results in terms of generating sales. So the email marketing is at 46%, social media 41%, and then online store with 37, business website 31, and then events coming in at 28%.
And we got a lot of questions about this in our research because lots of us have this assumption that young people don't like email. Right. But in fact, in study after study after study, what we see is that remains a preferred way of contact, even for the youngest respondents.
Right.
And so don't be afraid of email. If you're targeting younger crafters, it's okay. Email works for younger folks.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will say just my experience in seeing a lot of our clients across the board over the past 14 years, consistently, the clients that are utilizing their newsletter in an effective way with best practices, they are getting results with that tool. My experience really reiterates this data.
Great. Yeah, so customer retention, as it should be, is a really high priority for these respondents. They are more likely to consider retaining existing customers as a top priority than attracting new customers. 59% say retention is a top priority compared to 29% saying attracting. And that is so smart because we know that it's much more profitable to keep a customer than it is to find one. So I love seeing that prioritization with respect to what people are looking at. And you've got a track record of a lot of work in this space about customer retention, Leanne.
Yes. This was a really great data point I was curious about. We also saw that variety in product offerings are helping to retain customers. Not surprising, we saw Chris, our confident succeeder, with 64% prioritizing variety of product offering in their store. And we say, this is Chris's secret sauce. They were more likely to say that repeat customers were a result of that steady flow of new and exciting products. Not the same old. With Ollie, our online oriented, they were specializing in unique offerings that were not mass produced. And with Willa, our threatened worrier, Susan, Willa is selling a lot of products that are common to the shop up the street or down the road. And so, it's the same as the competitors. And so they really are finding their customers are more price sensitive because they have nothing else really to go on when they're being competitive.
Right. Yep. It's true.
And then the last one is our community Casey, non-surprising, was most invested in workshops, group events, and private lessons.
Yeah, and part of it is because they really want to build community with and between their customers. Right. So that's a big deal for them. And poor Willa, this is another example of a situation in which Willa is not helping themselves. Because really mapping up against things that are being sold at Joann or Michael's or whatever is very difficult to do.
Yes.
Because of what they can do from a pricing standpoint. So
right.
yep.
So as we talked about earlier, Susan, I'm always interested in the longevity of the industry. So we wanted to ask questions around how long do you think you're going to be in business? 48% of respondents overall said that they definitely plan to be in business. But look at here at the confidence exceeders right over here in the orange. There again, Chris, they are not worried at all. They believe that they are definitely going to be in business. Versus Willa here in the pink, only 29% think that they're going to be in business in 5 years. And then when we look at the community prioritizers or the online embracers, you know, they're pretty much 50-50. But this one, yeah, the data just seems to be consistent all the way.
Yeah,
through.
especially when you know how, when you know the stats about small businesses and how long they survive. I have to say, like 64% having that level of confidence that 5 years from now they'll still be around. That's huge. I mean,
Yes.
it's pretty high overall, but I feel for the threatened warriors.
Right.
But so few of them really think that they're going to be able to survive.
Yeah, and remember we talked earlier about these are the two groups that if you were past that 15-year mark, you were most likely to be this one or this one. So, you know, Chris is plowing forward and she's going to be going ahead where Willa is like, well, gosh, I've been doing this 15 years. Might be time to check.
I don't even know if I can make it.
I don't know if I can make it.
I don't know if my business will survive another 5. That's unfortunate. As a business owner, that's hard to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we did ask a lot about community. You and I both were really interested in this. So share with us what we found about community.
So for me, this was the aha moment of this whole study. Okay, what's on this slide? First of all, 74% of the respondents, 3/4, say creating a sense of community is important on some level, but only 54% say that they're successful at that. Ouch. So there's a gap there. And then look at the next one. 17% say it's extremely important to feel a sense of community with your owners. No, that stat isn't right. 17%. Only 18% say they definitely feel that. There's a big gap here between the percentage that think this is critical and the percentage that have it. And when you look at these two things together, creating a sense of community for their customers,
right,
and finding a sense of community for themselves as an owner, so many believe in those things, and dramatically fewer are achieving those things. Right. Big opportunity in the industry.
Yeah. And, you know, I would say if you want better community, we all need to just do a better job at trying to cultivate that within our shops, within our communities, when we go to trade shows, you know, and sometimes I'm advising clients to kind of shift that mindset. I know we're all really competitive with each other, but is there a way that we can all work together so that all of us can be successful?
We both have a friend who calls this co-opetition.
There you go. I love that word. I love it.
Yeah. And you know what? Not everybody feels like they can do this. If you can't, make a friend who does and just follow them around and you will warm up to it. So yeah, absolutely.
All right. So I know everybody's thinking about, well, how am I going to solve all these challenges? So we wanted to share with you what we found kind of across the board as far as what works to meet challenges. And Susan, one of the things that rose to the top was hiring a business coach.
Yeah, interesting.
Only 40% of worried Willa has tapped into a coach versus 89% of confident Chris. And I know, again, just from talking one-on-one with clients, coaching can be a very powerful tool. Also scheduling in-person events and workshops that seem to be helpful with challenges. Like we mentioned, being intentional about product sourcing, going that extra mile to make sure that you've got specialized offerings, niched offerings, personalized offerings. This one too, I love investing in technology to improve operations. So what that means is if your website is 5 years or older, or it's not mobile friendly, upgrading that is going to really help you with your challenges. Or it could be as simple as you have MailChimp, but you've really just been doing basic sends. Now is the time to upgrade to the next level where you get access to automations and segmentation and some of those other things. Or it could be simple as your POS system. It's not working well for you. Now's the time to take a look at upgrading that. And then, of course, we know consistent newsletters and social media, utilizing those best practices, because as we saw in earlier slides, they are an effective tool to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
All right, next we want to talk about this area, the retailer support from manufacturers and distributors. This is a big point.
Yeah, it's a big point. So here are 4 examples of what we saw in the study. It shows up throughout, open-ended, but manufacturers need to do more to support small local crafters. That's a 4.8 out of 6, where 6 is I agree completely. I wish the manufacturers and distributors I work with would ask me how they can better support my business. 4.8 overall. When manufacturers and distributors sell directly to consumers, it hurts craft retail businesses. 4.7. And it upsets me when manufacturers and distributors create exclusive products with social media influencers, thereby competing with my store. There's a lot of frustration.
And we pulled out some individual responses based on this particular data point. So Chris, of course, feels confident and successful. And she says, you know what, we're in it together. We should be working together to make both of us better. I try to keep on top of trends, but I do count on manufacturers and distributors to share them with me. They still want to be in the loop. They still want to be informed. Community Casey said we need promotional information, lead time. We have to be able to promote whatever is the next best thing. So they need stuff ahead of time. And sometimes we don't meet with the reps because they're too pushy, they're argumentative. We don't have a good relationship with the distributors, we do have a good relationship with distributors, but we do not enjoy meeting with the reps. Susan, just yesterday, I was on a consult with a client and she told me, I am done with reps. I am tired of reps. They don't bring value. So here was an actual, in the wild
experience.
and in the wild. Yeah. So this is happening. We also have Online Ollie who said, you know what, we're just as excited about your products as you are. And if you give us a little information on how to use, upsell, apply, whatever that is, we really move faster to sales with our customer base. And if you provide us with demos, videos, etc., the products sell themselves. And I will just take 1 minute and do a shout out for one of our partner sponsors, Bernina. I work with tons of Bernina retailers, and I can tell you Bernina is one of those companies that does it really well. The Bernina dashboard, they have accessible content and videos and all sorts of stuff to support their retailers. That's exactly what our folks and respondents are asking for. So they do a good job with that.
So you don't have to ask a rep for it. It's just there. They've already anticipated what you need. Yeah, that's great.
Willa, we know, is struggling. She says we are promoting so many more products than they are. Controlling that flow really helps with the inventory management and getting things from being spread too thin. They don't want it one on top of the other. So keep that in mind, distributors. And then I struggle with the minimum order requirements. Shipping fees make it hard to keep inventory robust, which we know is an important thing. They need more samples, swatches, color cards, and visuals for advertising their products.
Yep.
All right, we know manufacturers selling direct to consumers is a concern.
Yeah, I mean, for 41%, this is a problem of the folks in our study. But look at Willa. It's 55% among Willa, and compare that to Ollie, which where it's half that level of concern. Yep. So yes, there are differences, but 41% is nothing to shake a stick at on average. I mean, that's a lot of people who really have issues. So
yeah, this has come up a lot recently.
Hopefully manufacturers are listening.
And Willa has something to say about it.
Of course.
They can say on their websites and to our face that they are here to support us. And then they open subsidiary companies, they rebrand existing products to these subsidiaries and then sell in direct competition to the retailers. It's evil. Susan.
Evil.
Love that one.
Yes.
Community Casey says every sale counts. They are operating on a razor's edge. So if they, the manufacturers, the distributors, are selling directly to consumers, it hurts us every single time.
Yep. Even Confident Chris, if you sell direct, I'll generally be forced to phase your products out. I would appreciate knowing as far in advance as possible when such a change is happening. So they're standing up and saying, you can do what you want to do, but I am strong enough to be able to say, no, I can't, it doesn't work for my business.
Yeah. And naturally, Chris is planning for it.
Yeah. And then, Ollie, independent retailers are still your largest channel. If you compete with us, you won't have us around as a channel to consumers in the future. Use technology to find ways to help independent retailers compete instead of going direct and essentially competing with us.
Yeah, we heard that again and again.
Yep, for sure.
We also looked at customer service. This was a high point, Susan. All personas rated their customer service highly. Friendliness of customer service was a 5.6 out of 6.
Yeah.
Quality of products and services, love to see this, 5.5. And then they're consistent with their customer service. So, this is a gold star area for
it's a great point of confidence for the industry, for sure.
Yep. And then this one, we know all of the personas were struggling with being proactive about their customer needs. This illustrates pretty clearly the disconnect our respondents were experiencing between how they feel about their customer relationships and then some of the individual aspects of maintaining that relationship. So we see here 81% were feeling good about solving customer issues. 85%, 78% felt good about customer service experience. Yet only 57% felt good about understanding their customer pain points. And then 39 felt confident about their ability to upsell additional products. So still a little bit of work that needs to be done in those two areas.
Mm-hmm.
As always, we recommend that you go beyond customer service. Most of our retailers, like I said, they felt good about their relationships, but they were struggling to understand those pain points and the upselling. We talk about this day in and day out. If you're a fan of Stitchcraft marketing, or you've been to my presentations, or you listen to Business of Craft, we talk about that customer avatar all the time. I'm sure people are like, oh God, she's going to talk about it.
Here comes the rant.
Here it comes. You probably have several avatars, and this is where you understand that pain point, when you can come in and be that hero, when you really understand what they need, what they hope for, what they fear, not just what you like. We're not shopping our inventory based on what we want. We're thinking about that avatar.
And that they're not all the same. It's such a mind-blowing realization that they're not all the same.
Yeah.
Understanding your customers, this is a personal boogaboo for me because this is the work we do. But most of these retailers are really struggling to get any data about their customers. Only 14% say they're doing that, and only 4% say they're using that to inform marketing. And let's be really clear here, Leanne, this doesn't mean that you're doing a big research study like this one. It does not have to mean that. It can be as simple as listening to people and keeping track of what they're telling you. It can be using your POS system. There's a whole bunch of ways to do this, right?
Yes.
That aren't breaking the bank.
Right. I wanted to provide exactly some actionable items because a lot of clients are like, well, I know I'm not doing it, but I don't know where to go. So let's just review it really quickly. You mentioned the POS system. That's where you're going to find your customer acquisition data. We want to know what they're buying. We can look at-risk customers. So much data in your POS system. Google Analytics, low-hanging fruit. Where are they coming from? How do they find you? What pages are the most compelling on your website? Where are they going? How long are they staying? What content are they consuming? And then we know the back end of all your social channels. That's going to be your Facebook, your Instagram, your Pinterest. Really anything you're posting on is going to have some sort of analytic collection dashboard. For Facebook and Instagram, it's your Meta Business Suite. There you're going to get insights, which might reinforce your assumptions about your customer avatar. Look at those demographics. If you think they're all men 60 years and older, and you come to discover, wow, actually my quilters are women 45 to 65, that analytic point is going to reinforce your assumptions. And there's tons of other great stuff on there. We probably should mention that Google Analytics 4 came on board July 1st. So if you're thinking, what is she even talking about? GA what? This is the time to get that installed. Go over to Google Analytics and get that 4 set up so that you do have access to all of that.
For sure.
The other thing we saw is video as an opportunity. Only 38% were using videos in content creation, and only 5% were using podcasts. That's not a big tool for a lot of our clients, but absolutely video is. And with only 38%, when I saw this, I thought, oh my gosh, look at all this low-hanging fruit. And I always encourage clients, you got to start somewhere. You can do a YouTube channel, just stick with that. We're seeing a lot of success with our clients on Facebook and Facebook Live. Hey, jump into TikTok. If you're feeling TikTok-y, go over to TikTok. Just don't overthink it. I just want you to start doing it.
Yep. Think how you can be helpful today. And even if your video is a minute long or 2 minutes long or whatever, YouTube is the new Google. YouTube is where people are going to learn about things now.
Yeah.
So it's worth getting over our fear of being on video. That was my personal issue.
Yeah.
It's worth it. It just has a huge impact on people now, and that's what they're looking for.
Yeah, for sure. We also know employee training challenges were a common pain point. All the personas named employee challenge as coming up for them. And we recommend, think about your strong shop culture. What is the culture of your business and why are you different? I always recommend you have systems and processes in place for training new employees. I mentioned at another presentation you and I did, we use Trello to upload all of our systems and processes. And then focus on improving your skills as a leader and embracing the role. So here's the point, Susan, where we're going to jump into the specific feedback for the personas. I know we're getting really close to the top of the hour, so I want to
almost done, guys.
We're going to go through those. So hold tight. We're going to give you the solutions for each persona. So the first one is Worried Willa. First thing I say is don't be too hard on yourself. We know retailing is really hard, and we know you're feeling threatened, you're feeling worried. Here's what we recommend for you. Of course, hire that business coach, hire the consultant. We know from some of the other data that that is a successful thing for Chris in particular. So why not try it? Tap into your community. If you're thinking, I don't have the money to hire a coach or a consultant, call up your local small business development center. There are free services in every community. You can hire a coach, a consultant to work with you or get that mentoring that you need. Of course, Willa really needs to expand her comfort zone with marketing initiatives. We know you are not going to be able to be successful with these tools if you're not even willing to try them. So we want to push you out of that comfort zone into some of these like video, doing better photos. We want you to look at your product mix and niche down. And we know personalization and specialization are an important key.
Yep. Okay, online Ollie. The thing here is really to be very intentional about your online presence. If you're going to operate almost exclusively online or a majority online, you really have to be thoughtful about what you're doing online. And here's why. It really, people buy because they know, like, and trust you. Mm-hmm. And that could be harder to generate that sensibility if you're only interacting virtually or online with people. So how can you build trust? How can you help people? How can you help them like you and trust you online? What are you doing with your online time? We all know that being online can be a total time sink. And sometimes it's much easier to spend time doing things we like to do online like posting to Facebook, for example, or not posting to Facebook, and avoiding other things that are maybe a little new for us or a little harder for us.
Right.
So really think about how you can best spend your time online to create that knowledge, liking, and trust. And what an opportunity for the online ollies to help so many who do not understand well how to use digital. If you are a digital native and you really understand this, or are, as we know, many of these folks are older and have learned how to adapt this into your business, you could do so much to help others understand the same thing. So that could be part of your online content, is just teaching and sharing,
cultivating community.
Yeah.
So for Chris, of course, stay confident, stay optimistic. We want to see you keep on keeping on. Buttress your confidence with ongoing professional and business development. There's always more that you can do, especially we want to see you level up with your leadership. And we know that the employee issues are something particular to you. So, try to focus on employee training and retention in your skill acquisition. And then protect your creative time. We know that nobody else can do it the way you're doing it, Chris. So look to others to delegate and protect that creative time. And then lastly, community Casey. Casey, of course, needs to diversify the way that they're building community around crafts. We know in-person classes and events are important to Casey, so bolster those. Let's take it up a notch. And then cultivating a consistent, active social media presence, and especially that video. If you're not doing video, you got to get into the video. And like our other personas, we want to see you curate and refresh your product mix regularly. That's going to be really important for all of us, which includes, like we already mentioned, niching down and being specialized and personalized.
Yep.
All right.
So you talked about community, Leanne, and as you know, it doesn't happen by magic. It's not flipping a switch. It has to be built. So I want to talk about some ideas that you and I have talked about how maybe we can start building what this community really, really needs. So first of all, let me explain that in these examples, I want you to think both about community with your customers and your prospects and community with your other owners. Be more proactive in thinking about diversity and inclusivity in your shops. Who you're hiring, the kinds of products you're buying, and maybe the kinds of other owners that you are engaging with in terms of your work as a community builder. Be a mentor when you can. Be a mentor to your prospects and your clients about the things you know how to do, and be a mentor to other owners who may be struggling in areas that you feel more comfortable with. Be generous in your marketing. Share content that is helpful. Nobody will know how great you are if you keep it all behind your cash register. You've really got to get out there and show people a generous, likable soul. And I know the people who run the craft retail store that I visit here are so good at that. This community, I think, has such generosity in it. Don't forget to put that in your marketing. It shouldn't be all sell, sell, sell. It should help, 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 sell, help, 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 sell.
Yes, exactly. And we know people buy from people they know, like, and trust.
That's right.
And that's the best way to generate trust. So,
correct.
All right, Susan, that's all we have for our guests today. Boy, 2:00 on the dot on my
on the dot.
So we did it. We came right in on the dime. If you want to learn more about the survey results, we've got a couple of things for you. One is the Tableau data set. So Tableau is going to be the software where you can take a really deep dive into the data. And we're sharing this for free. And again, thank you so much to our sponsors. I'm going to pop over there real quick so you can see that. Again, TNNA, Bernina, and Creative Retailer really helped make this possible, so we can offer it for free. You can also get your hands on the executive summary, which is our observations about what the most important points are from the data. And you can get those here with this QR code, or if you want to transcribe this URL, you can. If you are thinking, gosh, I don't even know what that QR code is, don't despair. Just go over to stitchcraftmarketing.com and you'll see at the top portfolio. Just drop down on that and that'll take you to our landing page all about the data, or just stay on our homepage and go to our slider where we have a link there and you can get access to both of those things. So Thank you again, Susan. This was such an amazing experience with you. I'm looking forward to doing another study in the near future. And I guess we'll stay on and take some questions if people want to stay
If
on.
anybody has questions,
Make sure you do.
always lovely to do this with you.
Yeah, awesome.
I never
And
want to
if you've got questions, you can go ahead and put them in the chat, or I guess we'll turn off the recording and then we can, people can jump on audio if they want. So let me just stop that recording. Thanks, everybody.
Hope it's helpful, everyone.